Hello, everyone. This is Taj Hashmi from Toronto. I'm a human rights activist, a retired professor of history and security studies. I taught at universities in Australia, Bangladesh, Singapore, Canada, and the US. I'm appealing to the free world, all major and minor countries in the free world, from the United States, the EU, UK, Canada, Japan, South Korea, and other countries, those who respect and practice democracy, freedom, and human rights. This is just a piece of information to those who don't know the current situation in Bangladesh under the one-party, the brutal one-party dictatorial regime of Sheikh Hasina, which is brutal and corrupt to the bone. In last 1 month, since October 28th, more than 20,000 people have been arrested in Bangladesh. And their fault is they support the largest political party in the country and the ongoing movement against the removal or overthrow of this proto-fascist Hasina regime. And so much so that the police has been arresting right and left, randomly and selectively, anyone suspected of having any connection with the opposition party or the movement to remove Hasina. The police is checking their cell phones, their social media outlets, including Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, and having any link, even remotely, with the BNP or opposition dissident parties, the police have been arresting them right and left. And it must be noted, as it appears in the video I've attached here with my appeal.
ওই 9 নম্বর ওয়ার্ডের সভাপতি আমি আমার ছেলে দুইটা ধরে লেগেছে
আমার ছেলের বউ ছেলেকে পাই না ছেলের বউকে নিয়ে গেছে আমি তো জোরে জোরেই বলছি আমার ছেলেকে পাই নাই আমার ছেলের বউকে ওর মাকে নিয়ে গেছে আমার ছেলেকে পাই না আব্দুল হামিদ ভুইয়া
সভাপতিত্ব করছেন আসলে যে ঘরে আছে আমরা থাকতে পারছি না এই গত 13 তারিখ রাতে আমার বাসায় পুলিশ অভিযান চালায় সেখানে সামরিক পুলিশ যায় আমার ছেলেকে বিএনপি বলে আমার ছেলের শাস্তি আমার ছেলের ক্যারিয়ার নষ্ট করে দেওয়ার জন্য শাস্তি 2013 সালে 4 ডিসেম্বর সালে ইসলাম সমন্বয় আফগান হোসেন পান্ডে সহ 8 জনকে তুলে নেওয়া যায় এখন আমরা 10 জনকে কমপ্লেন করি না
কষ্ট করে এক সপ্তাহ ধরে বিশ্রামের পরে এখন এই ব্যাপারে কাশিমপুর 2 নং ওয়ার্ডের মধ্যে ধরে রাখছে আর কি
that thousands of BNP supporters have been arrested, and when the police failed to find out the wanted person for some unfounded or trumped up charges of anti-state activities, killing, abduction, or arson, they are not finding the right wanted person. They have been arresting their immediate family members, father, son, brothers, even wife of one wanted BNP supporter was arrested. And the wife, the mother is in jail, father is in hiding, and their 2 minor children are helplessly waiting for their parents to come back. This is what the Hasina regime is doing, this is flagrant human rights violation. It goes without saying. This is what Hasina has been doing. It has kept behind bars around 100,000 people, mostly from the opposition BNP party. Of late, thanks to the US administration, Biden administration's some stern measures, especially the visa sanctions that Biden administration imposed on 7 senior police officers, law enforcers in Bangladesh on 10th December 2021, the day when it is the International Human Rights Day on 10th December 2021. And afterwards, we find the Biden administration has been sending one after another some State Department high officials, from Azra Zia to Afreen Akhtar and Donald Lu, urging the Hasina administration to hold free and fair and inclusive elections without any intimidation. But all these appeals fell on deaf ear. Hasina could not give any damn to such appeals. Hasina regime has been stubborn. Recently, the ice is melting. Recently, we noticed the Biden administration is urging the world to respect labor right. And labor right is human rights. So Biden administration is urging the world to respect labor laws and laborers' human rights. And interestingly, Secretary of State Antony Blinken, in one of his tweets, has mentioned a Bangladeshi government worker or leader, Kalpana Akhtar. And he also mentioned Kalpana Akhtar's name in one of his recent statements, public statements, that Kalpana Akhtar is a garment factory leader, workers' leader, and she has thanked the US embassy and US government for saving her life. Otherwise, she would have been one of the victims of Hasina's killing spree. And her police have been brutally disappearing people and killing them randomly. And Kalpana Akhtar was fortunate enough. This is what even Antony Blinken mentioned. And of late, we notice the Bangladeshi embassy in Washington has written a letter to the Foreign Office in Bangladesh, urging them that the United States seemingly is going to impose full-fledged economic sanctions on Bangladesh for violating human rights and for violating labor laws, labor rights. It is very shocking but true that the minimum wage for a Bangladeshi apparel factory worker is 8,000 taka, which is around less than $80 per month. And they demanded at least $300 per month as their wage, which the garment factory owners flatly refused to do. And on top of that, surprisingly, the illegitimate Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina intervened, and she said that they would be given maximum 12,500 taka or around $100 per month as their wage, nothing more. can be given to them, she affirmed publicly. This is an encroachment on labor rights. No sitting prime minister or president in any country which is not under draconian communist or socialist system to intervene in the private sector, urging asking the laborers to accept whatever is offered by the factory owners. This is, I think, a violation of all ILO regulations and labor law in vogue. So, of late, Hasina regime is nervous because after the Bangladesh embassy in Washington had written this letter to the Bangladesh Foreign Office in Dhaka, we find Bangladesh's Commerce Minister, Tipu Munshi, in a public statement said, oh, all these impending economic sanctions by the US and EU are not going to hurt Bangladesh. We won't give any damn to such sanctions. These are hyperbolic statements out of total sheer nervousness. And to hide their fear, the minister has said so. The Prime Minister Hasina and her Foreign Minister Abdul Momen have been saying such things in complete defiance of US administration. Even United Nations Human Rights Watch was dubbed as not fair, unfair. So Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, and US administration have been singled out as dubious, unfair, and corrupt, and whatnot. Even the Foreign Minister Abdul Momen has been saying that the American police is much more brutal than their counterparts in Bangladesh. So I'm not going to waste your time by cataloging what the Prime Minister and her ministers and officials have been saying, lying to the people out of sheer nervousness. Why is Hasina regime nervous? Hasina knows what the US administration says. It means it very much. And now those days are over. 2008, 2014, and 2018, when various US and Western regimes, Western governments wanted to sidetrack, marginalize BNP and other political parties in Bangladesh out of some unfounded fear, apprehension that they would introduce Islamic government and they are in league with Islamists, which was out and out wrong information. Now, of late, Washington, London, Paris, and other capitals in the free world have realized that the present ruling party is a crony and partner of communist China. And we know China has built a submarine base in Bay of Bengal in Bangladesh. And Hasina is getting billions of dollars from China to build infrastructure and to embezzle the land, bulk of it, for herself, family members, and her cronies. They have plundered multiple $billion. The amount could be as high as $50 billion or $60 billion in the last 15 years. And the country is indebted to the tune of $100 billion, mainly to China. How the country would repay this debt, one doesn't know. But anyway, Hasina has been doing it, and she knows one day she will have to leave the country, because she publicly said, when United States single out a regime, that regime can't sustain. And there is some sort of rumor or there is some element of truth in it, I don't know. journalist asked about her son, who is a permanent resident in America, that the US administration has said that they would confiscate her son's properties, which he made in America. Her bank balance and houses, buildings, or whatever properties he owned in America. In reply, Hasina said, "Oh, if US government does that, I can't do anything, but my son has enough in Bangladesh, he would come back to Bangladesh." So something is brewing. We don't know what actually is happening with her son and with the regime, but she is nervous. I cite you an example. Today, 30th November, the High Court in Bangladesh, the judiciary, by the way, is fully compliant to the regime. Hasina appoints judges from her cronies and from very trustworthy ruling party supporters. Even that High Court, which is run by cronies and pro-Awami League judges, have given a judgment against the government to withdraw some of the charges, fictitious charges, trumped-up charges brought against Nobel laureate Dr. Muhammad Yunus. This I see as the beginning of the end of the regime, because the regime is nervous and Hasina is trying in vain that by depressurizing Dr. Yunus, by giving some concessions to Dr. Yunus, who has friends in the United States, UN, and almost in every country in the free world. By doing so, Hasina thinks she would win over Americans and Brits and Europeans and others. But this is, I think, too late, too little, too late. What she has been doing with Dr. Yunus is just an eyewash. The Washington and all the other powerful capitals in the world must not be misled by this gesture by Hasina. She has not done anything else to appease our fear, our apprehension that she is going to be she is going to get another 5-year term as the dictator of Bangladesh. Her regime is possibly worse than that under Ferdinand Marcos and Suharto of Indonesia. Her regime can be compared with those of Saddam Hussein, Hosni Mubarak, and Pinochet in Chile, and Franco in Spain in the post-World War I world. The last 75 years or so, she can be singled out, her regime can be singled out as one of the most brutal and corrupt in the whole world. So what she is doing now, she has not budged an inch from holding these so-called elections without any caretaker government. She is bribing people right and left, including a couple of people from the BNP party, to take part in the elections, which she has declared to be held on 7th January next year. But she's not getting enough response from the BNP and other political parties. They have remained defiant. In view of this, I appeal to the United States, to the Biden administration, to the Sunak administration, and other administrations in the West, and Japan and South Korea and elsewhere in the free world, to impose immediate economic sanctions on the regime. It will hurt Bangladesh for 6 months or so, but Bangladesh will get rid of this draconian proto-fascist regime forever. And I appeal again, 20,000 people have been arrested in 1 month alone. So there is no sign of any positive change in Bangladesh. So The free world must help Bangladesh now, today, or otherwise Bangladesh is in a situation which is now or never. Bangladesh is on the threshold of the now and never moment. I urge the free world to do something proactive to save the country for the sake of democracy, freedom, and human rights. Thank you very much.